I think there are 6 tangible skills that I believe are necessary, and then 4 intangible skills. The 6 tangible skills start with interpersonal skills. You need to have strong interpersonal skills. Now, I don't mean that in the sense that some of you may think in this room or people outside of this room may think. I don't mean interpersonal skills in the sense of sort of slap you on the back salesman or saleswoman types of skills. I don't mean schmoozing skills. I mean the ability to convey to the client that they should have confidence in you, that you are competent, and that they should have confidence in you. Secondly, quantitative skills. Quantitative skills are important if you're going to work on transactions. Now, you do not need to have been a math major or a physics major or an engineer in college to have the prerequisite quantitative skills. But you need to be facile with numbers. You need to be comfortable with numbers, because much of what you do as a transaction lawyer and definitely as an investment banker will involve numbers and numerical analysis. So you need to be comfortable working with numbers. Thirdly, you have to have an interest in business. You do not, contrary to popular belief, need to have a business background. You do not need to have worked in business for 4 or 5 or 3 or 2 or 1 year, but you should have an interest in business. And the way I would say you could manifest that interest now, or what you might want to be doing now at this stage of your careers, is just read the Wall Street Journal a couple of times a week. Not even every day, just a couple of times a week, just the front page. Just the front page. So take 10 minutes, that's all it takes to read the front page of the Wall Street Journal 2 or 3 days a week, and you'll become familiar with what's going on economically around the world and what's going on among some of the leading companies around the world. So develop an interest, acquire an interest, fake an interest in business, but have an interest at least in business. Fourthly, you need to be discreet. You will be entrusted with confidential information that's very, very valuable. And you don't want to be the person who's talking about the transaction upon which they are working when they're on a train or in an elevator or at a restaurant. You do not want to be divulging this confidential information. You need to be discreet, you need to treat it with discretion, and you need to exercise good judgment. Next, you need to be okay with confrontation. A popular misconception that some people in law school have is they think of litigators as sort of conflict seekers. And they think of transactional lawyers or corporate lawyers as the people who want to avoid conflict. You do not get to avoid conflict by becoming a corporate lawyer or an investment banker. You're going to work on a transaction. The people sitting on the other side of the table from you have adverse interests to those of your client. And you're going to have to conflict with that person. You're going to have to negotiate against that person, and you're going to have conflict. So you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with conflict. Last tangible skill is you need to be able to put the client first. A lot of people say that. What does that really mean? It means that you need to be there for the client whenever they need you. You need to respond to their emails immediately. You need to call them back immediately when they call you. One, you want to really be responsive to the client, but two, you want to, just as importantly, convey to the client that they are a priority. So you're going to get calls at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, you got to return them. Emails 2, 3, 4 in the morning, you got to return them really fast. You're going to spend all-nighters with the client. You're going to work very hard. You want to do, on top of that, whatever you can to make the client feel comfortable that they are a priority for you. So those are the six tangible skills that I would say are necessary to do deals or to work on corporate transactions. 4 intangible skills. The first is it's helpful to be an open book or a blank sheet of paper, whatever analogy you want to use to convey what I'm trying to convey, which is that you want to be a student when you first start out on this career as a transactional lawyer or an investment banker. You want to find somebody who does this job really well, and you want to study that person. Put your ego aside and learn as much as you can from that person. You need to be a student of the business for the first couple of years. I can't tell you how many people make this mistake. They come in with preconceived notions of what will make them good or bad at doing deals, and they're usually wrong. And you can't do that. You need to put aside any preconceived notions that you might have and be willing to learn from people who are really good at doing what you're hopefully going to do. So be a student. That's very, very important. Secondly, have a system. The best transactional lawyers and investment bankers have a system that they use for covering clients for doing deals. And it involves everything from mundane things to more sophisticated things. But it's not, they don't just wing it. They actually have a system that they've put together over time, and they follow that system throughout the course of a deal, from the time they make the pitch to the client to try and convince them to hire them, to the time they attend the closing dinner and toast the client for the transaction being completed. Have a system. Third intangible skill is take control. Most clients, in fact, I think every client, wants you to take control. They're hiring you because you have expertise that they don't have, as I mentioned. They want you to tell them what to do. So tell them. Tell them. Don't hem and haw. Don't sort of equivocate. Say, here's what you should do. And if you do it, this is how things are going to turn out. And if you don't, this is how things are going to turn out. But take control, and don't be afraid to give the client advice right up front in a confident manner, as I said earlier, by conveying to the client that you know what you're doing, you're very competent, and that they should have confidence in you. The last intangible skill that I think is very important, and maybe the most important of all the skills, is empathy, which is the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And too many advisors on transactions, too many deal lawyers and deal bankers don't do this. Take some time and think about what the CEO or what your client is going through. Think about what is probably important to that person across the spectrum of things, and from emotional to professional, and articulate those concerns to the client as you're advising them. Say, I understand that, I bet you're under enormous pressure. This is your company that you started, and we're taking it public. You're about to take it public and sell a big portion. Your name is on the sign, is on the billboard, is on the company letterhead. This is a big deal for you and your family. We got to get it right. Things like that. Have empathy for the client. Put yourself in their shoes. Advise them accordingly, and make them understand that you appreciate the position that they're in, emotionally, professionally, and all across that spectrum. Okay, so those are why I think the job is exciting. Those are the 6 tangible skills I would advise people to work on and to have if you're going to be successful in advising clients on corporate transactions. And then those are the 4 intangible skills that I think are necessary.